One race, one unexpected victory, and a teammate's remark after the race that turned a professional occasion into a dispute. In just his 13th Cup Series appearance, Heim triumphed at Naval Base Coronado. The true narrative, however, is what Bubba Wallace said afterward and why his reaction to it reveals everything about the direction of this rivalry. Nascar accomplished something it has never done before this past Sunday at Naval Base Coronado. For the first time, the sport was held within an active U.S. military installation. San Diego, California, is located directly across the bay from the track. Built directly through the streets and airfields of the renowned base, the 3.4-mile circuit has 16 twists. On race day, there were about 50,000 spectators. The total increased to 1,25,000 throughout the course of the weekend. Nothing was noted at the moment, but something happened before the green flag ever lowered. During driver introductions, a group of Navy sailors approached Heim on stage. Suddenly, those sailors began tapping their wrists, imitating Heim's victory celebration. No one gave it any thought. Those sailors seemed to know exactly what was going to happen by the end of the day. Nearly no one had predicted Heim to win going into the contest. In 2026, he will be a part-time driver for 2311 Racing. Before this season started, he has only made 5 starts in the Cup Series since 2025. He did win the Craftsman Truck Series Championship in 2025, and it was a huge victory, but the Cup Series is a very different story. Heim undertakes a lot of testing and simulator work for Toyota in addition to his busy schedule. For San Diego, the strategy was straightforward: learn, improve, and run hard. The goal was not to win. Everybody saw various drivers. Shane Van Gisbergen appeared to be the favorite when he began on pole. Tyler Reek finished with the most points, and his colleague Connor Zilisch is among the top road racers in the garage. Heim was an afterthought. Then the race began, and his situation quickly deteriorated. In the opening few laps, he fell back to 20th from 13th. Initially, his crew was forced to use their poorest tires. Those tires were never going to be quick because they were scuffed from qualifying. Booty Barker, his crew leader, repeatedly urged him to maintain composure over the radio. The quality tires were on the way. Heim had faith in him. He inhaled deeply at stage 2 and decided it was time to launch an assault. However, the race blew wide open before Heim could even move. Austin Hill and Connor Zilisch ran side by side at the front during a restart on lap 31. Hill locked up his brakes after entering turn 1 with much too much speed, slamming Zilisch and himself into the concrete wall. Zilisch flew directly into Shane Van Gisbergen's path after bouncing off the wall. Van Gisbergen had nowhere to go. He tore up the front of his Chevrolet as he drove through the collision. Van Gisbergen only managed 1 point over the course of the weekend, finishing in 38th place. Zilisch came in at number 37. Hill was also finished. Hill immediately took ownership of it. He said, "That one's on me." Van Gisbergen was far more agitated. He said, "I'm dirty." Before the race was even halfway finished, 3 of the biggest dangers vanished. After taking the lead, Tyler Rake appeared to be headed for another victory. Heim appeared quite strong and led 9 laps, but he was now on his best set of tires as his rear tires began to deteriorate. The gap started to narrow quickly. Rake slipped slightly in turn 2 on lap 73. Heim only needed that. He lunged. Through turns 3 and 4, the 2 teammates ran side by side without moving an inch. Rake attempted a crossover maneuver into turn 5, hit his car, and scraped the wall. However, Rake released the gas and returned the spot in a moment that revealed a lot about him. For the victory, he could have destroyed his teammate. He decided against it. Rake later recalled, "I ran him right into the wall." That was incorrect. That was not how I was going to pass him for the victory, especially as a teammate. Rake's left front tire went flat shortly after, and he fell all the way to the 25th. Only the final 3 laps of the race were led by Heim. He went over Q10. He won his first ever Cup Series race 365 seconds ahead of Bubba Wallace. In the history of 2311 Racing, it was the first 1-2 finish. For the first time since 2017 and only the first time in their 20 years in the sport, it was Toyota's 4th consecutive Cup victory. In the 78-year history of the Cup Series, the number 67 Toyota had never been in the winning lane. In just his 13th start, Heim accomplished it. Heim was barely able to speak following his burnout. "I'm at a loss for words," he remarked. "It was unbelievable. We were fine once we put on a new set of tires. Struck the wall a few times, possibly causing some damage to the vehicle. I don't know, he continued. I simply inhaled deeply after stage 2. When I entered this event, I had great hopes for a fair playing field. Because of what transpired a year earlier in 2025, this victory meant considerably more. The Chicago street race was his very first Cup road course race. His group didn't make it. Before the race had begun, he was knocked out. He described his 22nd birthday as the worst of his life. In San Diego, that recollection drove him. Heim remarked, "That's all full circle for me, going from one street course that just crushed my life to probably the best day of my life here a year later." It's funny how that occasionally works. Despite finishing 14th, Denny Hamlin, who owns 23XI racing alongside Michael Jordan, entered the news conference beaming with surprise. "To be honest, I'm really surprised," Hamlin remarked. "Now, I wouldn't have been all that shocked if you had asked me during the race. I had enough time to sprint by him to realize how fast he was." Toyota Racing Development's Tyler Gibbs advised him to move through the lower series slowly and steadily. Heim has already been confirmed as a full-time Cup driver for the number 35 Toyota, 23XI in 2027. This is where the tension starts. Bubba Wallace also had a crazy day. In just 10 laps, he went from starting in 12th to 2nd. His right front wheel then fell off the vehicle and skidded down the circuit on lap 19. The wheel nut had not been correctly tightened by his pit crew. He received a 2-lap penalty from Nascar and was forced to remain still in his pit stall as the other drivers continued to race. Wallace overcame his 2-lap deficit. To regain the lead lap, he made 2 cautious free passes. He was a wise driver. He made his way through the traffic. He came in 2nd. Out of 40 outings on road and street tracks during his Cup career, that was the best road course finish. Wallace, however, was unable to truly enjoy it. He said, "It's what if, tired of living in that." You could sense the pain beneath his compliments. Wallace remarked, "I'm really excited for Corey and Booty getting him back to victory lane, but my body language and facial expressions won't show it. We all want to win the Cup Series when we get there. It's quite unique to be able to accomplish that for him on his 13th start." Wallace discussed controlling expectations, the difficulty of the Cup Series, and rookies being spit out when asked about his future. Many people believe that Heim's statements were laden. The punishment followed. Adam Hartman, Wallace's rear tire changer, and Nathan Ricketts, his jackman, were suspended by NASCAR for the next 2 races on June 24, 2026. Soma and Chicagoland will be missed. They won't be able to visit Echo Park Speedway again until July 12th. Wallace will now have to compete in 2 major races without 2 of his most crucial crew members. The standing also underwent a significant alteration. To qualify for the playoffs, Van Gisbergen required a successful weekend. Outside of the postseason bubble, he finished 17th in points when he left San Diego. He now needs to win Soma. Riek's lead against Hamlin decreased from a comfortable 8 points. With only a few circuits remaining, all 4 of 2311's vehicles were in the top 6, demonstrating the team's strength.